Shalom, shalom, man. Please forgive us, man. We've been a little lacking on the lessons, the classes on these few weeks, man. Right. Pray that we get it together. Right. First and foremost, we want to give all honor and glory to the Most High God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. We do so by way of His only begotten Son, who is an instrument of salvation for the nation of Israel. Right. Scattered abroad, whomever they might be. Right. Um, but yeah, man, forgive us. Hopefully today, uh, I'm committing to two videos, one right now, and then we're gonna be going out shortly on Cherry Street to evangelize for camp, and then one when we get back. Right. This one shouldn't be too long, but it's gonna be very encouraging. First and foremost, I want to say Shabbat Shalom to everybody. Right. We went over. I think the last video we did, we went over the Sabbath, just putting a nail in the coffin of how we know today is the Sabbath. If you haven't checked that one out, go and check that one out, man. To put your mind at ease, to let you know, right, that we're operating uh, the way the Lord sees fit. You know what I'm saying, Lord willing, as far as we can see right now. Today's lesson is going to be called Overthinking Leads to Delay, right? So this is going to be a little encouragement video for everyone out there that may be overthinking things in their life, right? And showing you how it may be able to delay your blessing, whatever you are trying to achieve. And then we're going to show you an adverse way of approaching things, right? First, I want to bring out a video of my man, right? You guys know I like bringing this guy up. He says some good stuff. So if you follow him on Instagram, if you don't follow him on Instagram, give him a follow, man. I don't see anything that would be distasteful or disheartening about his content. His name is Ryan Leak. Let me share my screen real quick. And brother Azrael, let me know if you can hear this, right?
Do something, post something, write something, record something, pitch something. The people you admire didn't get where they are by waiting for the perfect. Stop overthinking and do something. Post something, write something, record something, pitch something. The people you admire didn't get where they are by waiting for the perfect plan. No.
I want you to keep that in mind, where he said that the people that you admire, that you look up to, some might call them your role models, they didn't get where they are by overthinking, right? They did what they were supposed to do, and they jumped off the porch, right?
Showed up. They hit publish on their first messy draft that had typos. Okay, they made the
Meaning they did something, they jumped off the porch, and they might not have had it all together, right?
awkward phone call. They moved across the country. That is how you build confidence. That's how you create opportunities. That's how you make progress. It's by being willing to try something that everybody else talked themselves out of.
Right, man. And the nature of the beast, man, it's easy to talk ourselves out of something. I just want to read this caption real quick. It says, "Overthinking has stolen more dreams than failure even ever has." You can spend 3 years obsessing over how to make it perfect, or you can spend those same 3 years getting better at it in public, right? Jumping down in front of it. Skipping down, it says, "Imperfect actions beats perfect intentions every time. Keep moving." And all he's trying to tell us is the fact that, hey, man, sometimes you get an idea, just act on it, and don't overthink it. He mentioned some things like just publish it, even if it's just that first messy draft. He mentioned something like, you know, moving across the state or across the country, right? So you don't miss out on that opportunity. Things like this are bold. Things like these are bold, but it usually when you hear people doing these type of actions, it often means it comes to a means of success, right? I don't know if people remember back in the day, right? A guy that's fairly popular right now is DDG, right? But he didn't begin his popularity, so to speak, until he did something bold, which was move out to California, right, where he believed, which would be the catalyst to his profession, which is at the time was being on YouTube, right? And when he did this, he pretty much vlogged his whole experience, and for like the first 2 months, he was out there with no furniture, no nothing, just in an apartment, sleeping on the floor, right? And lo and behold, that ended up, you know, bringing him to where he is today. I bring that up to say, you just like the brother said, you got to stop overthinking, man. And when you get an idea or something, man, or if you feel like, especially if you feel like God is leading you to do something, go ahead and do it. So with that being said, we're gonna bring up some examples of people overthinking God's plan, right? Because a lot of times God will give us direction, and He'll give us the steps to take, and we overthink every possibility that it won't work. You know what I'm saying? And that's not an uncommon thing for us to do, because we see it even happening with our forefathers, right? Let me share my screen real quick. Let me see if it'll pop this up here. We're going to go to the book of Exodus, chapter 3. Let me see if I can get this to act right this time. Percent. Let's see. We're going to start at verse number 6. So this is Exodus chapter 3. We're going to start at verse number 6.
Exodus 3 and 6. Moreover, he said, I am the God of thy father, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. And Moses hid his face, for he was afraid to look upon God.
Right. So this is before Moses became who Moses was, right? He was hiding out at his soon to be wife's spot, right? Where her family was, right? His soon to be in-laws. And while he was doing this, he was watching over a herd of, or a flock of animals. And God appeared to him. He's letting him know who he is right here, right? Keep reading.
Verse 7. And the Lord said, I have surely seen the affliction of my people which are in Egypt, and have heard their cry by reason of their taskmasters, for I know their sorrows.
Right. So at this point, man, the Most High is relaying to Moses. Um, he's laying out the premise for his plan, right? And at this time, it's funny because Moses feels the same way that the Most High feels, right? So a lot of times we get inner feelings, right? That maybe something might not be right, something might be heading in the wrong direction, or your long suffering has ran its course, whether that be spiritually or even in the job world, right? The workforce, whether that be in a relationship, not necessarily marriage, but maybe if you're courting somebody, maybe if you're have a friendship with somebody, right? You might have those feelings, and you might pick up that it's time to do something about those feelings, right?
Verse 8. And I have come down to deliver them out of the hand of the Egyptians, and to bring them up out of the land land unto a good land and a large, unto a land flowing with milk and honey, unto the place of the Canaanites, and the Hittites, and the Amorites, and the Perizzites, and the Hivites, and the Jebusites.
So he's letting Moses know what he plans to do, right? And I'm pretty sure at this moment, it sounds good to Moses, but he's like, "Why are you telling me?" Right? Verse number 9.
Right, verse 9. Verse 9. Now therefore, behold, the cry of the children of Israel is come unto me, And I have also seen the oppression wherewith the Egyptians oppressed them. Verse 10, Come now, therefore, and I will send thee unto Pharaoh, that thou mayest bring forth my people, the children of Israel, out of Egypt.
Right. So he's telling Moses that he's choosing him to lead his people out of the land of Egypt. Right. Um, And so that's a big task, you know what I'm saying? But sometimes in life we're faced with big tasks. Sometimes we're faced to do the right thing. Sometimes we have families as leaders of the households, right? And we have people that we need to lead out of Egypt, right? Because what do we say Egypt stands for? The house of bondage. That house of bondage could be anything. It could be a spiritual bondage. Maybe your family is going through spiritual tribulation. It could be a financial bondage. Maybe your family's going through a financial burden. It could be any type of bondage with your family as a man, right? And it's up to you to become Moses and to by the spirit and power of God to lead them out of that Egypt, right? But he has chosen Moses to do this, right? And just like any man, right? Sometimes we act like Moses. Sometimes we respond like Moses, right? What does Moses say? Verse number 3. Verse number 11.
In verse number 11, And Moses said unto God, Who am I, that I should go unto Pharaoh, and that I should bring forth the children of Israel out of Egypt?
He says, Who am I? Sometimes we overthink, man, and we question our ability of who we are. That's why Christ reminded us that, don't you know that ye are gods, right? And Psalm says, don't you know that you're gods and that you shall judge the earth? But you up here saying, who am I that I should go up to Pharaoh? You talking about I got to go up to the king, right? Somebody might give you might be given a task to go up to your boss and do something simple like ask for a raise. You know how many people on this earth overthink going to ask their boss for a raise? Not to put the brother out there, right? Not to put the brother out there, but the brother on the screen, brother Azrael. You know what I'm saying? He was blessed with an opportunity, right? And everybody knows, man. You know, you get blessed with a promotion or something like that. Um, there's a short little window where you gotta go and put your little negotiation chips in, right? I witnessed this brother, right? And I'm thinking, and he's saying, man, I'm trying to figure out when's the right time to go ask him. Not saying that the brother was defeated to the point where he was not trying to go negotiate, but you can just tell his actions was a little, to me, anyways, right? Seemed like he was overthinking a little bit. You know what I'm saying? But I bring that up to say, even when I got my promotion, right, I was hesitant and saying, "Who am I to go up and ask for a higher salary than that they're offering?" You know what I'm saying? So we all sometimes feel like Moses, and so you can't look at Moses and be like, "Man, this man Moses is tripping." You know what I'm saying? Because as humans, as men, we all feel that way sometimes, right? He says, "Who am I that I should go unto Pharaoh and that I should bring the children of Israel out of Egypt?" Who people sometimes we say, "Who am I that when you're sticking up for somebody, maybe a friend, who am I to go up to this person and defend a friend on their behalf? Who am I to go up to this person to ask for more money so my family can get out of financial burdens, right? Who am I, right? These are common things to feel, right? So we can't. So oftentimes, people look at Moses like he was scary and stuff like that. But you got to understand the task that was at hand, right? Um, but I'm bringing this out just to associate, right? What not to feel like, what not to do, especially when you think God is speaking to you to do something. Because when you got God behind you, man, that's the best big homie to have, right? A lot of people, we grow up, we have older siblings, um, we have good friends that we grew up in the neighborhood with that are on our side, and that allows us to build up our confidence to do things, right? Because hey, look, my older brother, he gonna come in and he gonna handle business if you try to stop me from doing what I want to do, right? My daddy bigger than your daddy. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes women, they get out here and they act a fool knowing that their man is ready to crash out for them. How much more the most high God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob? When we have him behind us, man, we should feel all the confidence in the world, right? Moses continues though. What else does Moses continue to say? Right. Let's go to Exodus 4, the chapter, the next chapter over. Right. What does Moses say? Exodus 4 and 1.
Book of Exodus, chapter 4 and verse 1. And Moses answered and said, But behold, they will not believe me, nor hearken unto my voice, for they will say, The Lord hath not appeared unto thee.
Right. So Moses making excuses. He said, "Hey," Moses answered, he said, "Behold, they will not believe me." So he don't even know if they'll believe him or not. Right. This is again overthinking. Um, Maybe I might go and tell this person that he needs to apologize to my wife. He disrespected my wife, and I need to go and tell him to apologize to my wife because he offended my wife and made my wife feel some type of way. Right. Overthinking looks like he might not agree and might not apologize. Then I'm gonna have to force him to apologize. Then I might lose my life because these crash outs here might kill somebody, right? But you overthink because you don't know if these things might happen. He might not even know that he offended your wife, right? He might know that he offended your wife and is just waiting for you to approach him so he can say, "Man, you're right, man. Where's your wife at? Let me apologize," right? These are things that people overthink. He said, and a lot of the thing about overthinking is they're all hypothetical things that we go over in our minds that haven't happened yet. So, like the video that we played at the beginning, Ryan Leak was saying the people that don't overthink and jump off the porch, they operate within the public. And what he meant by that was they operate through reality and not what ifs. You see what I'm saying? So like it's one thing to be scared or to be discouraged from somebody actually saying no. It's another thing to be discouraged about somebody possibly saying no, right? And right here, Moses is worried about the possibility that they won't believe him, the possibility that they won't hearken to his voice, right?
Yeah, you think about any person that's successful in life, they're not an overthinker, right? Being an over Not being an overthinker does not mean that you're not trying to perfect your craft. It just means you're not an overthinker as far as you know, like the title says, you're not going to delay yourself because of overthinking, right?
Right,
I mean, when you have some people in the world that thrive off of positivity, right? They'll thrive off of when they put something out, they give good feedback. But you'll have a great person, a successful person that they thrive off of good and bad feedback, right? And those are the people that don't overthink, like the brother Dan just said, right? They're operating in reality, meaning they put something out there, they get the good and the bad, and guess what? They can move forward because they no longer have to think about what what's the good parts and what's the bad parts of whatever it is you're doing, right? Everything is out in the open, right? And part of the teachings of the Bible is, walking in authority or walking by faith, right? When you walk by faith, man, you got to put the overthinking to the side and you just got to walk by faith. And faith really is hope, right? You got to walk by the hope that, God got your back. And, what I'm saying? Even if you do fall, He's going to be there to pick you up. And, that's when you see all the people in the world that are successful reach, high heights. Even when you read people in the Bible, the people in the Bible, the ones that are being used, you see them come into whatever they're supposed to come into, right? Whether that be an inheritance, a kingship, rulership, priesthood, whether that be anything, when they stop overthinking, whenever they're overthinking anything, it delays their anointing, it delays their chosen position, right? Not saying that God gonna take it away from you, but it delays it, it slows it down, right? But the moment they stop overthinking and they just do it, that's when they step into whatever they were supposed to be in.
as a fact, man. And case in point, um, one, one. You can delay peace within your household if you overthink and delay having that hard conversation, whether that be with your husband, your wife, or your child, right? Um, Real life experience. I remember when we before we hit the streets, before we started evangelizing, right? I myself was overthinking going out there because I was pretty much like Moses. I'm thinking like, who are like, we don't know what's out there. Like, I want to be extra prepared because I don't want to be confounded in any way, shape, or form. The brother on the screen, he was the main advocate for saying, man, we need to jump off the porch, and there's no way to get better or to see what's out there than just do it, right? He wanted to operate in reality versus me. I was, and don't get us wrong, there's a place for prudency and thinking about the future, right? But sometimes, right? Sometimes it's better for you to jump off the porch and operate in reality, because a thing like this was like street evangelism, right? A thing like that is you're not gonna know how to deal with it or operate in it unless you do it. Why do I say that? Is because nothing can prepare you for the things that you're going to see on the street, right? The conversations that you're going to have, the people you're going to run into, because the world is just filled with so many different people, right? So I will say, man, operating in reality in that moment was the number one thing that was best for um, our body, right? Even if it is just us three. I think we started out with like 4 or 5 people, maybe. You know what I mean? But the remaining three, it was monumental for us to just jump off the porch, right? Let me see. Right. So right now, man, um, we're gonna see some, more excuses from Moses, right? And if anything, it's just wasting time, right? You got the Most High God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob talking to you, right? And you sitting up here wasting time, right? He wants to get straight to the point, and you holding the man up, right? You asking all these questions and stuff. So, what does the Lord say right here?
Right,
Verse number,
Exodus 4 and 2. And the Lord said unto him, what is this that in thine hand? And he said, a rod.
all right,
Verse 3. And he said, cast it on the ground. And he cast it on the ground, and it became a serpent. And Moses fled from before it.
right, number 4.
And the Lord said unto Moses, put forth thine hand and take it by the tail. And he put forth his hand and caught it, and became a rod in his hand.
All right, so he's just showing him, hey, look, man, I got this covered, right? There's one more verse I wanted to go over in this chapter. Let me see. Let me open this up. Chapter. I think it's in verse number. Boom. Verse number 10. Right. This is the infamous excuse of Moses. Right. Exodus 4:10.
4 and 10. And Moses said unto the Lord, O my Lord, I am not eloquent, neither heretofore, nor since thou hast spoken unto thy servant, but I am slow of speech and of slow tongue.
You know how many people in this world overthink because they're not good public speakers, right? You know how many people will not show up for interviews or show up late or be afraid to show up in person or just to take interviews because they're terrible at facing other folks for opportunities or terrible at public speaking, right? Um, and my thing is this, right? I don't feel like anybody should be able to say that they're terrible at public speaking because everybody knows how to communicate for the most part. I know there are some people that are actually, um trying to say this without being offensive, right? Actually disabled, right? Those with autism, things like that, right? That may not be able to get their thoughts out clearly. But for the most of us, right, on average, we all have common communication throughout our days, right? What comes into play is it's not that you're bad at public speaking, but you're you're bad in the aspect of overthinking, because that's where it leads to bad speech, because we all know how to speak, you know what I'm saying, but it comes from the overthinking, right, which can delay your speech, right. um he says he's slow of a tongue. It might be that he overthinks everything before he says it, you know what I'm saying. But I bring this out to say that, many of us have this trait as well, that we feel like we're not eloquent enough. This shows up in imposter syndrome, right? We feel like we don't fit in the room. We're not a part of the club. We're in a position that we're not supposed to be in, right? Or we're around people that are more advanced or more qualified than us. I was listening to a video by Mel Robbins, right, as an interview, and she was saying that people look at imposter syndrome as a disadvantage or a negative thing. She says really the best thing, because in order to grow, right, we all have to put ourselves in uncomfortable situations, and that exactly what imposter syndrome is. She said, matter of fact, if you're going for a job, if you're going for an interview and you don't have imposter syndrome, you're either staying stagnant or that opportunity is not causing you to grow, right? Because that imposter syndrome should let you know that you're entering into a new realm of possibilities, of opportunities and growth, right? Because you don't feel like you belong. But what happens is 9 times out of 10, you jump off the porch, you confident, you feel that initial feeling, you press forward. And now that environment where you felt like you was an imposter becomes an everyday normal environment for you. Now you know you can go up higher, right? But you got to be able to take those steps, right? Let's see how the Most High responds to Moses here.
Verse 11. And the Lord said unto him, Who hath made man's mouth? Or who maketh the dumb, or deaf, or the seeing, or the blind? Have not I the Lord?
He said, man, I got control of all of that. I made all of it, right? And I'm the one who chose you. So I know exactly what you're capable of doing. I know exactly your personality. I know everything about you, right? And I picked you for a reason, right? Why are you worried about that, right? And that's what the Most High is saying to a lot of us. We second guess ourselves, but the Most High God has already given us promises throughout His Word, right? An expected end, right? The desires of our heart, right? Reap the harvest, all these things, right? And if we're doing what we're supposed to do, we shouldn't have no hesitation in our heart. The only way you should have some hesitation in your heart if you know you've been doing wrong. You know what I'm saying? But if you know you've been doing right, man, and actually trying your best, there should be no hesitation. Why? Because you got your big homie behind you. What does
Verse
it say?
12. Now therefore go, and I will be with thy mouth, and teach thee what thou shalt say.
All right.
And he said, O my Lord, send, I pray thee, by the hand of him whom thou wilt send.
So he said, hey, Lord, pretty much send another person, right? Because I'm not it. Keep reading for 4:14.
And the anger of the Lord was kindled against Moses. And he said, Is not Aaron the Levite thy brother? I know that he can speak well, and also behold, he cometh forth to meet thee. And when he seeth thee, he will be glad in his heart.
So I bring this up to say this, man. Overthinking, a lot of times it irritates the Most High, right? When you're overthinking a plan that He's planted within your heart, when you're overthinking what you know to be right, you know what I'm saying? When you're overthinking standing up for the just and rebuking the unjust, right? It irritates the Lord. It irritates the Most High. Just like right here, he irritated the Most High, right? Moses, right? He says, okay, you feel like you can't handle it, even though I know you can. Well, this one I'm gonna take. This is literally what he did. He took some of the glory away from Moses. Think about it. Moses was supposed to be the one. You know what I'm saying? Not just the leader. What we know today as the priests, the sons of Aaron, supposed to be the sons of Moses, right? If you think about it. And so in retrospect, in this situation with Moses, right? What's the outcome of this, right? He angered God by overthinking, right? His reluctancy. And overall, not only did he delay, what needs to be done, uh, I believe I speak as a man, but I believe that the trust that the Most High had in him, um, it lowered a little bit. Because that's what we can do sometimes when we overthink stuff, when we don't act on things, we make too much excuses. Those that depend on us, their faith in us tends to dwindle, whether that be your friends, your family, associates, people you work for. You make too many excuses, you're gonna go to another person, right? Or you can't handle it. Okay, you're on a basketball team. The coach says, "Hey man, can you knock this shot down?" And you start stuttering. All right, I'm gonna go. Then Shadur Sanders had a viral clip going where he went to one of his receivers. Hey man, you ready to catch this? And the dude didn't say nothing. He kind of was starstruck. He said, "All right, who gonna catch this ball, man? Who gonna catch it?" Right? Go to the next person. Right? Same thing with your household. Make too many excuses to your wife about how you are gonna fix them shingles on the roof, right? She might go and you might come home and the neighbor across the street fixing your shingles for you. You see what I'm saying? Um, so it loses that trust that people have that depend on you when you overthink, right?
Yeah, because a lot of times this is disrespectful to the Most High God because He knows the end from the beginning. So if He's telling you to do something, He already knows the outcome. So you overthinking it is like you're questioning whether or not He's going to protect you in something that He already knows that's going to happen, right? And so that's very disrespectful because He's like, man, what are you scared of? I wouldn't be telling you to do something that I know is going to harm you. I'm the one that's causing all of it to happen. And even in life, like the brother said, with family members and friends and stuff, you might be telling somebody something because you know the outcome, and they go to overthinking, and you get mad because, like, dude, I just told you, sis, I just told you, sis, trust me on this one, right? And when they don't trust you on it, you feel kind of disrespected. So God is feeling kind of disrespected, like you don't trust me on this, and I'm letting you know I'm orchestrating all of this stuff.
Come on, man.
You telling me that you're so slow of speech. I'm the one that made you slow of speech. So if I made you slow of speech and I'm the one choosing you to do this job, don't you think I already knew like before I even chose you? You know what I'm saying? So it's like, hey, we
That's a
can't overthink because ultimately, life is gonna play out how life plays out.
right. And when you think about it, man, the Most High, he was gracious enough to extend grace to Moses to still allow him to be the leader with the sidekick. But he could have, scratched it all and just went to a whole nother person in general, right? So how many of us, um, you know, a lot of times had lost opportunities because of overthinking and it went to somebody that was less qualified, right? Because that's really what happened here. You
And
know
you're
what I'm
like,
saying?
man, that could have been me.
Yeah, and then you start talking trash at the end, like I'm really better than him. I really should apply for that junk,
Yeah,
right?
I had that chance, but I turned it down, man.
Right. How many of us are in those predicaments, right?
Imagine if Moses turned it down, right, because of that, and Aaron became Moses. Like the whole story was rewritten, and we were reading out the law of Aaron, right?
Right.
That the Aaronistic law, or whatever you might want to call it, right? Moses might have been hating, you know what I'm saying? Moses might have been the one to be killed for the, you know what I'm saying, the molten calf and stuff, you know what I'm saying? So like anything can happen, man. Just don't overthink it.
And
Because
don't count on God's grace, man.
right,
He'll
I was
be
about to
there.
say that's a good point. That was mercy that God even extended him help. Because at this point he's talking back to God. You know what I'm saying? He's not trusting God's physical, literal word. He's not trusting it.
Come, man. Right. Um, we're gonna go to one more example, right? Um,
And that's a good example of faith and works, right? Because I'm sure at this point Moses know that God is real. He got faith that God is real, but Moses is hesitating on the works.
Right.
And God is kind of getting disrespected. Why? Because you need both. You can't just say you believe and don't, get down and busy.
And that's why I brought up too that everything he was saying to Moses, like I've been seeing the Egyptians and how they treat my people and the sorrow that he's bringing. Da, 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 da. So it's not like Moses doesn't agree with him, right? Because remember, Moses said, "I hear what you're saying. Can you pick another though?" Right? And so it's like Moses understands what he's saying. He feels it's the right thing to do, but he still feels like he's not the man for the job because he overthinks himself.
Yeah. And
Right.
a lot of time, how an overthinker becomes somebody, a person of action, is because when they overthink and they miss an opportunity, you know what God's doing? God is just saying, you know what, you're not ready. Your faith isn't big enough for you to just act upon something. So He's gonna keep trying you and giving you tribulation and temptations. He's gonna be like, okay, back to drum board. You're not ready to come off the bench yet. And so you over here wondering why your life ain't going like the next person. That other person ain't overthinking. The other person moving in faith. They're using their faith to cause them to move. You're using your faith poorly because you're overthinking and you're drowning your faith. And now your faith is dead. So God's saying, guess what? I got to give you some more tests so that you'll have enough testimonies in your life to where you're confident to actually just stop overthinking and move.
Right, man. What Moses should have did was not think, just do. Just like he did when he smoked that Egyptian's ear off. Because that's why he's even with his future in-laws right now, because he's on the run, right?
Right.
The same way he didn't think about that and he just did is the same way he needs to act right now. But a lot of times what happens is we get into places of comfort. See, he's with his in-laws now, the pressure off, right? He out of the world. He can slow down and make his decisions without thinking about, while thinking about them. He's in a comfort zone, right? And so a lot of times we put ourselves in comfort zones and it allows us to overthink. Sometimes
Right.
we gotta embrace that pressure and stop putting ourselves in places of complacency.
Right. Can you get this precept real quick before you go to the next one since you said that?
Yeah. What you want?
I believe it's in uh, Proverbs or Psalms. One second. Um, let's try Psalms. Go to Psalms. Um,
You gotta think, man. A lot of us, man, you know, we get married and let ourselves go. You know what I'm saying? That's where it comes into play, right? Because we get into a comfort zone, right? And we start overthinking. Sometimes overthinking isn't about steps of improving in something like that. Sometimes overthinking is idle thinking, right? We're worried about everything but what we need to do. You know what I'm saying? Or you can met like Moses here, right? I'm sure he was thinking, I really like this girl. You telling me to go do X, Y, and Z, but I ain't even married this girl yet. You know
Proverbs.
what I'm saying? I ain't even married this girl yet. And now I kind of want to get with this girl before I do anything else. So the Most High probably he feel like he putting a wrench in his system. You know what I'm saying? Because he has his own plans. That could have been possibility too. Now, right? He could be making these excuses. Hey, pick another because I'm kind of good where I'm at right now. I'm comfortable. I want that to happen for the nation, but I'm kind of chilling right now. That could be the thing too. And a lot of us are found in those type of predicaments as well, right?
Right.
Proverbs what?
24:33.
It says, yet a little sleep, a little slumber, a little folding of the hands to sleep.
Right. This is talking about, you go to sleep, a little slumber, you got comfortable. What's going to happen though when you do that? You're right to go to the next verse.
It says, so shall thy poverty come as one that travaileth, and thy want as an armed man.
Right. When you even think about most robberies and things of that nature, they happen in the nighttime, and the the most vulnerable a person can be is when they're sleeping, right? When they're comfortable. Because when you sleep, that's a sign of you being comfortable. You could be sleep on the floor, right? But that's a sign of you being comfortable, right? And so, like the brother Dan was saying, a lot of times when you get comfortable, man, you can cause not only yourself, your promise and your prosperity to be delayed, you can cause it to be robbed from you, right?
Right.
You
Like an
could,
armed man, somebody that's well prepared comes up to steal your position, to
right?
steal your house. Right.
You could be talented and gifted. You could have a specific skill that the world needs, but if you get comfortable, man, before you know it, 10 years done gone by, and you nowhere close to where you should be in life. You nowhere
Right.
nowhere close to the influence you're supposed to have on people because you got comfortable. You got sucked into, for example, like a lot of the world gets sucked into their jobs, man. And they don't ever try to think outside the box into entrepreneurship. They don't even try. And entrepreneurship ain't for everybody, but like I think everybody should at least try. But they don't even think about entrepreneurship. They don't even think about leveling up. They're just like, you know what? I kind of like this job. I enjoy my break times. I get a lot of holidays. I can go to work and it is what it is. I get paid every week. They get into that whole comfortable state, and before they know it, anything can happen.
Right, man. And that happens in any aspect of life, not even just, you know, jobs and stuff like that. Think about relationships, right? Like a husband and a wife. A lot of us get too comfortable, and a man that's armed for the job, I know, in the truth, man, we don't promote divorce and stuff like that, but that's how divorces happen though. People, a man or a woman gets comfortable, and a man or a woman that's armed comes in, right, and takes your possessions, right? Next thing you know, you divorce, and now your wife or your husband is with somebody else because you got too comfortable. You see
Yeah,
what I'm saying?
spiritually, you know what I'm saying? At one point, you was praying all the time. You was fasting, right? You was teaching stuff. You was on calls till 3 in the morning. Then you got comfortable because you felt like you got all the knowledge that you needed, right? You got comfortable. You fell asleep spiritually, and then guess what? Spiritual poverty came upon you. You started forgetting where stuff was in the Bible. You forgot to keep the Sabbath. You started making excuses. Some of the stuff in the Bible just wasn't as serious to you anymore. And next thing you know, you're living a life of sin, right? And now, next thing you know, the stuff that was promised to you that God wanted to help you out with in life, he's not even coming close to hearing you or touching your life anymore because you fell away from him, because you got comfortable in your spirituality, right? You got comfortable in your walk. And so now, you're poor, you're spiritually poor. You know what I'm saying? You got to start all over again. You got to start from the bottom. You got to start, you know, God got to test and try you again. And I'll say too with Moses, you'll understand that tests and trials and temptations, those build your faith to where you get to a point to where your faith is so strong after all the testimonies that you've had in your life that you don't overthink anymore. Which is why, like, sometimes, your zeal could be too strong. Like with Moses, uh, he had done split the Red Sea, the earth done opened up. He done did so many things, right? And so his faith got to the point to where God said, "Speak to the rock." He hit the rock. He knew water was coming out that rock, no matter what he did, right? And that's because his faith got so big that he wasn't overthinking no more. He was just doing. And so sometimes though, you can act too zealous, you know what I'm saying? And you could you know what I'm saying, lean too much on your faith that God's giving you. So it's a balance that you have to have because King Saul, right? He knew he was going to win that war against the Amalekites, right? And it caused him not to listen to actually what God said. So also, your faith can be strong, but you got to keep a balance in the way of obedience too. You know what I'm saying? Because if you don't have that obedience, yeah, you might win the war against the Amalekites. You might get the water out of the rock, but at what cost? Your life?
Gone, gone, man. Um, right here, we're going to go to another example. This is Numbers chapter 13, right? Going to read about and this is one of the biggest delays, as I'm reading, this is one of the biggest delays that happened in the Bible, right? Something that happened essentially could have been prevented, right? Something that took 40 years could have been prevented, right? You can start at verse 1.
Numbers 13, starting at verse 1. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Send thou men, that they may search the land of Canaan, which I give unto the children of Israel. Of every tribe of their fathers shall ye send a man, every one a ruler among them.
Right.
And
So Moses did what he said. He sent one of Simeon, of Judah, Issachar, Ephraim, Benjamin, Zebulun, one of everybody, right? And so they're going out to scout this land, right? Let me see here. I don't want to read the whole thing, but I do want to read. I think I want to start at verse 26 here, right?
verse
When
26.
so they went out and they scouted this land and they came back, and this is what they are telling to Moses and Aaron. Keep reading.
Verse 26. And they went and came to Moses and to Aaron and to all the congregation of the children of Israel unto the wilderness of Paran to Kadesh, and brought back word unto them and unto all the congregation, and showed them the fruit of the land. And they told him and said, We came unto the land whither thou sentest us, and surely it floweth with milk and honey, and this is the fruit of it.
Hey, they said, hey, look, we went over there, and the Most High was right. You know what I'm saying? It is flowing with milk and honey, but there's a but. Keep reading. Nevertheless,
Nevertheless, the people be strong that dwell in the land, and the cities are walled and very great. And moreover, we saw the children of Anak there.
keep reading.
The Amalekites dwell in the land of the south, and the Hittites and the Jebusites and the Amorites dwell in the mountains, and the Canaanites dwell by the sea and by the coast of Jordan. And
Right.
Caleb's
Hold up. And so they're saying all these things. They're overthinking. That's what it is, right? They said they came into this land and the people are strong, man. They're mighty now, right? Way mightier than us. You know what I'm saying? The cities have walls, as if the Most High can't look down and see what they're up against, right? But the Most High said to go over there and take it, right? For it's flowing with milk and honey. He wanted to do that ASAP, right? Remember that. Keep reading. What does Caleb say though?
And Caleb stilled the people before Moses and said, Let us go up at once and possess it, for we are all well able to overcome it.
Right. So you had one though, Caleb. He said, "Hey, look, man, y'all tripping. I think we can handle it. We can get the job done." Right. Keep reading.
Right. Hey, he wasn't overthinking. He really was. He wasn't even negotiating. He made a decree. Let us go up, bro. Let's go.
Right. Hey, look, I just one of my favorite quotes from the movie Sinners, right? I know is controversial. People might not want to go see it, whatever. I went to go see it. One of my favorite quotes from there was the boy said, "Hey man, do what you got to do. Even if you got to," he said, "if you got to kill me, go ahead and kill me." Right? The dude pulls out a gun and he points it at his head. He cocks it, and the dude that said "kill me," he almost looked like he about to shed a tear. And the dude said, "What's the matter, boy?" He said, "I'm a soldier, and you just gave me an order." Right? That's how Caleb acting, right? Don't think, just do. Let's go ahead and take it. You know what I'm saying? The Most I said, take it, let's take it, right? What does verse 31 say?
Verse 31. But the men that went up with him said, We be not able to go up against the people, for they are stronger than we.
Right? Keep reading.
But the men that went up with him said, We be not Salakia. And they brought up an evil report of the land which they had searched unto the children of Israel, saying, The land through which we have gone to search it is a land that eateth up the inhabitants thereof, and all the people that we saw in it are men of a great stature.
Meaning they're tall, man. These are tall folks. We all seen Space Jam, right? We all seen stories about the Rebounders, all these sports movies, the Bad News Bears, all this stuff. where they're small and they go against all these teams that got all these good athletes and tall athletes, and they're like, bro, how are we gonna win against them? Read verse 33.
I also want to say too, it's talking about the land as well. It's saying like, for example, you could be starstruck, right? Somebody could say, "Hey, man, all this land in 2025, all this land could be yours," and they show you 300 acres, and you want 300 acres, but then you looking like, man, that's a lot to take care of. It's a lot of land clearing. It's a lot of animals out there. You thinking that the land will eat you up. You thinking that you can't take care of all that good land. And so that's what these people are saying too. Like the land is pretty much unbelievable to where like it'll eat the inhabitants up. The only people that can stay here are these great people that's already living here,
Not only
right?
that, not only that, they mentioned how the land had it was a great walled city. Like they had, it was like it was this fortress, right? And like you were saying, the Most High might have said, "Hey, look, he might be putting your spirit for your family to go get some land, right? Whether it be 6, 7, 21 acres, right? Um, but you start overthinking the process, like the brother said, like not only just the physical labor that's going to come with it, but the hoops that you might have to jump through to get there, right? Applying for loans, looking for grants, going through the whole situation of the process of paperwork and how to actually obtain this land. Like even once you
Maintaining
find
and keeping it.
once you even find it, right? And a lot of times we overthink ourselves, and somebody else might get that land before you because despite how much it takes to overcome and to obtain it, that person did it, or you just overthink yourself so much that you didn't even start on the process. Right now, you've written forever. You see what I'm saying? So it's steps to this, right? Verse number 33.
Verse 33. And there we saw the giants, the sons of Anak, which come of the giants, and we were in our own sight as grasshoppers, and so we were in their sight.
Right. And so it's important to know, man, that one, I want to say sidebar. Uh, this is an analogy, bro. It's not like they were actual grasshoppers, but it was saying like they're giant. Like we're like it's like when they're playing basketball and they say mouse in the house. It's not a real mouse. You're not a real mouse to this person, but that's what it's like, right? And I also want to say also is a lot of times, man, in general, bro. You know what I'm saying? I overthink stuff. Like for instance, um, we talking about obtaining land and stuff like this, and I know it's something that we gotta have to do, but um, I know it's gonna be something that we have to do. But I overthink so much, and I wanted to be perfect so much, and that's where it comes into wanting to, and we read this in the description or the caption of the video, right? Of wanting to be perfect so much that you overthink, right? I had a conversation with me and the brother had a conversation with an older gentleman, and he was just telling us how you want to have this in place, this that in place, and I just got to thinking like, man, I'm 30, like I just need to make it shape, right? Even if I can obtain these things without knowing the ins and outs or the hows, how I'm maintain it or anything like that, right? Sometimes you just got to jump off the porch and do it, and then worry about that later, right? So overthinking, man, sometimes it can throw them objections in you, man. Before you look, I think the brother mentioned already. Before you look around, man, you're 45, 50 years old, and you haven't even started yet. You see what I'm saying? Um, let's see their fate in this, right? So the children of Israel, man, if you keep reading, man, it goes on to say how they start blaming the Lord. Like the Lord wants us to go against these people, man. Surely He wants us to die, right? He's tricking us, type deal, right? What does the Lord say, right? Let's see. We start at verse 11 right here.
Verse 11. And the Lord said unto Moses, how long will this people provoke me? And how long will it be ere they believe me for all the signs which I have showed among them?
Right. Keep reading.
I will smite them with the pestilence and disinherit them, and will make of thee a greater nation and mightier than they.
Keep reading.
And Moses said unto the Lord, then the Egyptians shall hear it, for thou broughtest up this people in thy might from among them.
Right. And it goes on to say, man, pretty much he's going back and forth with Moses, and Moses is letting him know, like, hey, look, bro, don't do this because it's gonna all be for nothing. I know you're mad, but have patience with him, right?
Right? He pretty much was saying, I know we messed up, and I know you're mad, but if you do what you say you're gonna do, it's gonna make you look bad too. So that's what he's saying. Like, and I
Right.
guess he had a point in a way to where God was like, yeah, you're right. I'll give y'all another chance. Because God don't want to seem like he fake or like he's going back on his word or like he did something for no reason.
Right. So he's pleading with Moses, right? And ultimately, this is what the conclusion that they come up with. We're gonna read verse 20 to 25. Watch this right here, right? It's something I really haven't really put in perspective until today. Right? Verse 20.
And the Lord said, I have pardoned according to thy word. But as truly as I live, all the earth shall be filled with the glory of the Lord.
Right.
Because all those men which have seen my glory and my miracles, which I did in Egypt and in the wilderness, and have tempted me now these 10 times, and have not hearkened to my voice, surely they shall not see the land which I swear unto their fathers, neither shall any of them that provoke me see it.
Keep in mind, man, just the verse over, the chapter over, he was telling them, hey, look, go scout out this land. That's the land we finna go and take tomorrow, right? They got scared. And so now he's saying this. He said, surely these people that were scared, they're not going to see the land that I was supposed to promise them, within this same week, right? Within this same week. Keep reading though. What do you say about 24 though?
24, but my servant Caleb, because he had another spirit with him, and hath followed me fully, him will I bring into this land wherewith he went, and his seed shall possess it.
Right. He said, but Caleb, because Caleb was willing to jump off the porch, to not think and just do, to not overthink and just do, right? He and his kids shall possess it, right? He and his kids shall possess it. Keep in mind here. So what's happening here? Some people are actually being dealt with and killed off. One person is going to be he's going to succeed, right? Verse number 25. Watch this. And ultimately, again, this is what happens. 25.
Verse 25. Now the Amalekites and the Canaanites dwelt in the valley. Tomorrow turn you and get you into the wilderness by the way of the Red Sea.
Right. So look. I'm reading, and this is the conclusion I come up with. Right. Watch this. Outcome. Their fear and doubt led to 40 years of wandering in the wilderness instead of immediate entry into the promised land. Why? Because they were about to go and take the you think about it, bro. We always talking about 40 years and 40 years in the wilderness, right? All that could have been prevented if we wasn't overthinking and being scary, right? It says overanalyzing the risk led to disobedience and major delay in receiving God's promise. Why? Because what could have been immediately, right? The Most High prolonged for 40 years.
Yeah, man. Think about the whole experience in the wilderness. Think about if we never made the molten calf, if those brothers never stole the Babylonian garments, if Miriam and Aaron never tried Moses' wife, if they never were begging for quail's flesh, they were never begging for water. Think about if they just shut up and they just fully trusted God. God probably would have led them right through the wilderness. Man.
The crazy part is that's how some of our people are, right? When we overthink. One, I want to point out overthinking, some of us are fine with the delay, but you don't know how long it's going to be delayed because it's ultimately up to the Most High. In this case, the Most High delayed their promise for 40 years, right? That's a long time to delay. But a lot of us are so sorry, right? So lazy and scary that we overthink and we're okay with saying, oh, just whatever it is, just don't make me do it, right? A lot of these people were relieved when he said, "Go back into the wilderness," right?
And
When he said when he said, "All right, y'all don't want to take it right now. Y'all don't want instant relief. Y'all don't want me to, bro." Because what happens is, right, he just freed them from for the Egyptians, bro, right? And they finally get to this place, and they were supposed to have immediate liberation, immediate salvation, right?
right.
And ultimately they made it harder on themselves by overthinking, but a lot of them were relieved by that, and that's how sorry some of us are,
Right.
right?
I was gonna say too, I'm not one to overthink no more. Like God has acted enough in my life to where I don't overthink stuff. I just live life. And so with that being said, like personal experience, even like when it comes to paying bills and things of that nature, when it looks like you don't have it, if you go ahead and pray before every month, like if you pray before a whole bunch of stuff, like you got like your prayer life has to be like a week to week, day to day, month to month, and you have to be able to say thank you for letting me pay this bill this month. Please bless me to be able to sustain this month. Or if you see something coming to where you don't know how you're going to do it, like dang, I'm doing the math and in about 4 weeks I'm not going to have X, Y, and Z, and you go ahead and say that prayer and you don't overthink, you just live. Like I got enough testimonies in my life to like prove to me that I could just sit in it, right? I could just sit in the wilderness, not complain, and every single time I'm getting brought out the wilderness. You know what I'm saying? Um, but a lot of times, what happens is people get in that wilderness, they feel uncomfortable, they start overthinking, they start, being hasty, and that's when some people might, slip into some habits that they shouldn't be in because they started overthinking and they didn't know if God was gonna have their back. You know what I'm saying? But the thing about it is, if you keep God's commandments, He's gonna provide for you, right? And the moment you stop thinking that he's going to provide for you or make a way for you is when you're in obedience to him, right? And you don't trust him no more and you don't fear him no more. You think you got to take it into your own hands, right? And that's what overthinking is taking it into your own hands. You take it into your own hands. Nah, I ain't going to do that, even though you feel led to. And guess what? Now, what could have been is either forgotten, taken away, or delayed, all because you were panicking, right? Overthinking is kind of like a symptom of panic, right? He gave us a sound mind, man. You know what I'm saying? He didn't give us a mind of panic and anxiety, right? Overthinking is also like another symptom of anxiety. He didn't give us a mind of anxiety and to worry, right?
Right, man. That's a fact, right? So with all that being said, right, those two examples of how overthinking can delay or misplace or get your opportunities robbed from you, right? But I want to hone in on how to be, right? How to be, how not to. We just went over how not to be, but how to be and how to highlight what jumping off the porch looks like, right? Who better can we go to other than we just mentioned Caleb, right? Caleb was the first who, I'll say this all the time, Caleb was the first David, right? We're going to go to see what David did to jump off the porch, right? If you don't know, you should know the story of David and Goliath, right? And how everybody was afraid to go mano y mano with Goliath, right? But there was one person that was not. And this person, right, you know, he was actually left behind at first. He was looked over. He was small in might, right? But he was the one that could get the job done. And ultimately, he's the one that jumped off the porch, right? Um, Talking about King David, right? Let's start at verse. This is First Samuel chapter 17. We're gonna start at verse. Let's start at verse 22. Let's knock it out.
First Samuel chapter 17 and verse 2. And
22.
David 22. And David left his carriage in the hand of the keeper of the carriage and ran into the army and came and saluted his brethren.
Right. Keep
And
reading.
as he talked with them, behold, there came up the champion the Philistine of Gath, Goliath by name, out of the armies of the Philistines, and spake according to the same words. And David heard them.
Right.
And all the men of Israel, when they saw the men, fled from him and were sore afraid. And the men of Israel said, have you seen this man that is come up? Surely to defy Israel is he come up. And it shall be that the man who killeth him, the king will enrich him with great riches, and will give him his daughter, and make his father's house free in Israel.
Right. They're overthinking him because they're looking at his size. Right. Keep reading.
Come. And David spake to the man, and stood by him, saying, what shall be done to the man that killeth this Philistine, and taketh away the reproach from Israel? For who is this uncircumcised Philistine, that he should defy the armies of the living God?
That's what it looks like to jump off the porch, man. Right. That's what it looks like to jump off the porch. Said to know who you are, to be sure of yourself. Right. To sure the what needs to be done, and having the confidence to do it. Keep reading though.
Right. And the people answered him after the manner, saying, so shall it be done to the man that killeth him.
Right. I want to see here. David said, he turned from him to another spake. And when he was David. Right here, verse 32. Watch this.
Verse 32. And David said to Saul, let no man's heart fail because of him. Thy servant will go and fight with the Philistine.
David said, hey, I'm going to do it, man. All these dudes tripping. I'm going to do it. Keep reading.
And David said unto Saul, thy servant kept Salakia. And Saul said to David, thou art not able to go against the Philistine to fight with him, for thou art but a youth, and he a man of war from his youth.
I want you to know, man, sometimes when you confident and you're sure about yourself and you're not an overthinker, overthinkers might try to discourage you, right? They might try to throw you off your game, right? And sometimes it works, you know what I'm saying? But you got to stay 10 toes down. Keep reading.
Right. And David said unto Saul, thy servant kept his father's sheep, and there came a lion and a bear, and took a lamb out of the flock.
Right, keep reading.
And I went out after him, and smote him, and delivered it out of his mouth. And when he arose against me, I caught him by his beard, and smote him, and slew him.
Right, because so when you that guy, when you him, right? When they come to try to discourage you with their overthinking, you got to go back into your Rolodex, right? Your memory, and pull forth the reason why you was confident in the first place. Because sometimes people will try to discourage you and try to distract you from why you were even confident in the first place, right? Right. But you were confident for a reason. So don't ever let nobody take that confidence away from you. Always go back to the root of why you was confident about doing something in the first place. Right.
And remember too, man, this is what I was saying earlier. If you're not at that level of confidence to where you're not going to overthink, God going to put you back in the sheep pasture, bro. You got to learn some more lessons. You got to have some more testimonies to make your confidence grow to where you don't overthink anymore, right? Because all the testimonies that you go through in life, what is a testimony? A victory, something that God brought you out of that you had no way out of, right? That you couldn't see yourself getting out of yourself, but God got you out of it. You have to have enough of those so when God calls you, you don't second guess him, right? And so that's what David's saying. Like, God had me tested with the lion and with the bear, right? God had me tested. So I'm assured of myself. I'm already knowing. I don't have any fear. I got faith, and my faith is causing me to just act boldly. So that's what, a lot of us got to do. We got to remember the testimonies that happen in our life so that we don't overthink things.
Right. Keep reading.
Right. Verse 36. Thy servant slew both the lion and the bear, and this uncircumcised Philistine shall be as one of them, seeing he hath defiled the armies of the living God.
Right, saying, hey man, this Philistine is not going to be any different, bro. Right? I'm confident to get the job done. Keep reading.
David said, moreover, the Lord that delivered me out of the paw of the lion, not of the paw of the bear, he will deliver me out of the hand of this Philistine. And Saul said unto David, go, and the Lord be with thee.
Right, man, because that's where your confidence lies. It lies Not even really with him slaying the lion and the bear, but it lies within his big homie behind him, the Lord, right? The Lord delivered me out of this stuff. So, and I know the Lord, if he can deliver me from a lion and a bear, he can definitely deliver me from a man, right?
Um,
Read
and,
38.
and I was gonna say too, like Dan said, man, sometimes when you come confident, the enemy's still gonna try to get you to overthink. So they may send people your way to get you to overthink. But you got to be able to, like the brother said, remember why you were confident in the first place, right? Because there are gonna be people to discourage you, right? There's all gonna be people, what I'm saying, to put stumbling blocks in your way to make you overthink. That didn't sound too good. You might not want to put that video out there. You can't sing for real, right? So, base level, but you got to remember and remind yourself that your relationship and the testimonies that's in your life have brought you to this point. So why not? Right.
Right.
Verse 38. And Saul armed David with his armor, and he put an helmet of brass upon his head. Also, he armed him with a coat of mail.
You never know when you jump off the porch, bro. You might not even be prepared, right? You might be lacking in some things, right? David didn't have armor, right? But what happens is sometimes God will, once you jump off the porch, God will put people in your life to give you the things that you're lacking, right? To get the job done. The same person that was trying to get me to doubt myself, now he's helping to arm me to do this thing, right? And so you got to understand, man, jumping off the porch, this is what jumping off the porch looks like. And we know that at the end of the story, he ends up slaying Goliath, right? And he becomes king, all this stuff. All that, that reminds me of um is a Netflix series out called Forever, right? And your life can change in one action. Right here we see David, he was a shepherd boy, right? In a couple of days he was a king with the daughter of the king's the one of the daughters of the king, right? And Forever we see this boy, he's lamenting, he's a basketball player. He's lamenting every game because he's at the end of the bench. They deliberately put him at the end of the bench. He know he's not getting in, right? And he has to see the glory of another star player on the opposing team, right? Time after time and time, they're getting beat, right? And I believe this is like senior year or something like that. You get to the point where his mom starts to doubt him. His mom, hey, maybe we should stop, looking into basketball. Maybe it's time to let basketball go, right? But his David moment was what? He's sitting at the end of the bench, they losing, right? But he just sees this guy playing. He knows that he can slay this giant. So what does he do? He gets up, right, at a timeout. He checks himself into the game. He checks himself into the game, right? That's what a lot of us got to do. We got to check ourselves into the game. And what happens when he checks himself into the game? He gets in the game. The coach says, "Hey, what you doing, man? Get back on the bench." The referee says it's too late. He has to stay. He has to stay, right? He gets in there. He hits like 10 threes, right? 10 threes, hits the game winner. And just like that, from when he was lamenting on the bench, fast forward, now he walking out of the gym, paparazzi, everybody want to take pictures with him and everything. He became a king. You see what I'm saying? This is what jumping off the porch looks like. And that's what happens when you don't overthink. Overthinking will keep you on the bench. No, the coach ain't gonna put me in. How I'm gonna get into the game? Hey, look, man, and I'm not saying everybody should do this, right? But every athlete has had that moment on the bench where it's like, man, I'm gonna check myself in. Very few have actually done it, but it has happened, and typically good things happen from it. You know what I'm saying? But again, jumping off the porch, checking yourself into the game. Sometimes you got to do that. You see what I'm saying? Sometimes you got to do that. You got something to say?
Gonna say this, a lot of times it breaks down to two people. There's some people that just do it, like Nike says. There's some people that overthink, man, and wait, right? And those are two different type of people. A lot of times, the people that overthink and they wait, they see in hindsight what would happen if they just do it. But the people that just do it, man, they understand right then and there. For example, my parents were parents that probably are just do-iters, right? They didn't really care what other people think, and they kind of, they did what they do what they want to. certain stories that they've told me in life. It's like, dang, you were bold to do that, right? Um, and I think because they were like that, it caused us as their children, right, to grow up as overthinkers sometimes. What do I mean by that? They forgot to kind of teach us to not overthink because they thought, because it came natural to them, right? They thought that was the way of life. And so I know for a lot of overthinkers, they teach their kids, right, to not be overthinkers because of all the miscomings and the shortcomings that they've had in life. So a lot of the people that you see that just do it, and a lot of people that got a bunch of confidence in themselves is because their parents have learned from experience, don't overthink, and they pass it down to their kids. But what I'm here to say is, after watching this video, it's never too late for you to stop overthinking, right? You don't have to start over with your kids. You can start right now for yourself, right? No matter what age you're at, you can start right now and don't overthink your situations, right? Especially if you're in this walk and you know who's behind your back. It's the Most High, right? Walk in authority, man. We're gods on this earth. We're powers on this earth, right? We can do what we put our mind to.
Right. Right, man. So I got a few takeaways here, man. One, like the brother mentioned earlier, a lot of times when you get to overthinking, man, sometimes you got to pause and pray, right? You don't know them bills coming in. Sometimes you just got to sit there and pray for God to make a way, right? You get to overthinking. You notice that you're overthinking. Stop thinking and hit your knees and pray, right? A lot of times that'll give you a lot of relief and a lot of clarity of what you need to do. Another one is memorize, man. Memorize these verses because these verses are meant for our encouragement, man. There's a verse that vaguely comes to mind. And it says something, paraphrasing, that these verses were meant for our learning. Not only memorize these encounters, but memorize verses that might sound cliche, like Philippians 4:13. I can do all things through Christ that strengthens me. Right. Remember those things because when you get in times of trouble, you might not have slayed a lion or a bear that you can go back into your Rolodex of memories and to recall, right? But you have these scriptures that you can go and be like, I didn't slay no bear or lion, but I know the Bible says this, right? When somebody tries to doubt you. Also, seek some godly counsel, man. Get around some people that will encourage you to not overthink and to just do right. I know it's hard when we get, like I said, when we get into spouse where we're overthinking. Sometimes it's hard to do it, and it's easier for somebody to tell us to just do something because they're not in it, right? Like for like the brother, I was like I mentioned it earlier, negotiating a salary after getting offered a job. I'm telling, hey, bro, just go to the office and say, hey, look, hey, I was wondering, you don't have to overthink it. But I will say it's easier said than done from an opposite party when you're not in it. You know what I'm saying? But when you're in it, overthinking can be a spirit that can take over, right? So get around some godly counsel, people that can talk you out of overthinking. And then also, man, you also want to lean on the Lord. Practice having trust in the Lord, knowing who your big homie is, knowing that he sees your situation, he knows the outcome, he has an expected end for you, right? And knowing that there's no wall around the city that's too high that he can't let you in. There's no person that's too big that he can't help you knock down, right? But with that being said, man, we are the hopefully elect again. We're about to go out. We'll be downtown Macon, Cherry Street. Brother Azrael will have the floor. Come fellowship with us if you're in the area. And remember, hey, look, if you're not helping to gather, you're helping to scatter, right? So always be putting your foot forward to bring this nation back home and bring them back to obedience, right? And letting our nation stop overthinking the risk that might come with coming into this truth, right? Because that's what a lot of people overthink nowadays as well. But other than that, man, we will see you guys tonight. I'm not even gonna say maybe. I'm making a decree that I'm getting back on here tonight because we ain't get on here but just once this week, and so you're getting a double header today. All right. That being said, man, shalom, shalom. See you guys later.